Thursday Thunder continues from Claremont, Indiana, the Indianapolis Raceway Park, where we are live. The Loctite Crestliner Van Sprint Cars, the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series from Claremont. Well, good evening, everyone. Normally, Steve Chassie joins me up here, but he was injured in an Indianapolis car race over the weekend. And joining me is the other Steve here in the central Indiana area, Steve Butler.
Yeah, Larry, I'm really glad to be here, except that I broke my shoulder, and that's why I'm not racing. So this is the next best seat in the house, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Glad to have you, Steve. Okay, well, welcome to Indianapolis Raceway Park. This past week and a half has been a very difficult one. We've had a lot of injuries that have had direct impact on the racing here in the Midwest. Those of you who were watching 1 week ago, of course, saw Eddie Horn injured very seriously in a crash here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Eddie is recovering. We'll have more of that a little later. Eddie, as you can see, from Defiance, Ohio, is 28 years of age, and he is the defending champion of the All-American Midget Racing Association. Now, Steve Butler is joining us, and Steve himself is one of those drivers who has been injured recently, and that's just part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is, Larry. Nobody likes to see it, but you know, if you race cars long enough, you're bound to get banged up a little bit, and I'm just glad that I'm not hurt too bad, and you know, I plan on being back in a race car in a week or two.
Well, Bruce Field, Phil Kruger in an Indianapolis car among those who have been injured. They're all on the mend, and we'll have a little more on that a little later. Back at Claremont, Indiana for the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series, this is the Loctite Crestliner Vans USAC Sprint Car Division from Indianapolis Raceway Park. This is Jack Hewitt in the car normally driven by Steve Butler, who is sitting next to me here in the broadcast booth tonight, getting ready for tonight's main event. We are just a few moments away from the push-off of these high-powered sprint cars for that race. This is the talk about picking winners. Do you want to take Fidoa?
Well, that's a good question. I think that it'd be hard to bet against Rich. You know, Rich really is fast in that V6. He's got it working real good, and I guess what I really ought to do is hope that the Stoops Freightliner car with Jack Hewitt wins, because I'm going to be driving that car again soon. Okay, this is the last lap before green. Gary, how about your selection for tonight?
I will take young Jeff Gordon, because Gordon has the old ride that Jack Hewitt was driving a few weeks ago. So I'll take Jeff. He was the second quick qualifier this evening.
Well, we've got a sort of a partial vote for Fidoa, don't we? We have a vote for Gordon. Hammond has won recently. I'm going to go with somewhat of a sentimental choice. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to pick against VOGLER, but I think that Doug Hebron, starting from the outside pole, may have his best chance. I think a real key for Hebron is taking care of that right rear tire. We've got a green flag and the race is underway.
And there goes Hammond down on the inside.
Lap number 1 of 30 to go, moving on the outside. That is Hebron. He takes the early lead. It is right now where VOGLER would like to be racing as we go back and ride with Jack Hewitt.
And Jack's going down the straight. He's going for the bottom. He didn't get quite down to the grass, but he's got VOGLER right up there in front, so he can't be doing too bad. He's right behind VOGLER.
That's 6th, 7th, and 8th. The yellow, car number 2B, is Gene Lee Gibson. Right ahead, there's the orange number 23 of young Jeff Gordon, the high school graduate of this May. And Hammond kind of squirts through on the inside and moves into the 3rd position. Riding once again with Jack Hewitt.
It looks like Jack's got a bit of a push going into the turn. You can see him turn his wheels into the inside, and he has to get out of the gas there, and the other cars are pulling away from him a little bit. So see, he's turning the wheels to the inside. He's pushing just a little bit. He didn't have to get off the gas that time, though, so maybe he's getting the hang of it from handling that way.
Lee Gibson continues to lead. That yellow and red number 2 that you just saw there of Gene Lee Gibson is running in 4th. And he has kind of slithered away from Greg Staub, Jeff Gordon, and Rich VOGLER. Now we're back with the 8th running Jack Hewitt.
Yeah, we just saw Jack get a big push again there in the 3rd and 4th turn, and he had to get out of the gas. And I think Mark Alderson went right by on the inside. So
there goes Jeff Gordon now. Jeff Gordon. Gordon gets very sideways between turns 3 and 4. Staub slips by, and VOGLER looks like he's got an opportunity, but no, Gordon closes that door. So VOGLER definitely exercises a little bit of discretion there.
Yeah, Jeff is really driving hard, and I think that Greg is holding him up a little bit, and they're both drivers are real anxious to get past him and get a shot at the leaders. You know, the longer they have to follow Staub, the harder it's going to be to catch up and have a chance at winning the race. Here goes VOGLER on the inside.
Just 6 laps to go, and you see some on-burnt fuel coming out of the exhaust header of Jeff Gordon's car. He's the only car letting that out tonight.
Yeah, it must be a little bit of the way that they've got the fuel injection adjusted on. He goes for the dive boot. there goes Vogler. It's a double dive.
Double dive going into turn number 3. Gordon got sideways midway through the corner as Emily Vogler, Rich Vogler's wife, looks on. And Vogler has still not gotten around Jeff Gordon.
No, two great racers here racing side by side. Vogler looks like he's getting a pretty good angle on him, though. This could be it. Rich dives in low and slides out in front of him. That's a classic pass. The
Butler dive is a single one on this lap, and Rich Vogler gets underneath Jeff Gordon. 11 laps down now of 30, and once again in black, it's Doug Heron, the former Oswego champion from Liverpool, New York. Gary Fedowa from Michigan in car number 42, the Trisac Sprint Car champion, and Wayne Hammond, the Florida racer, in the bright Robin's Egg Blue number 66.
Well, Rich Vogler is a straightaway behind these guys, so it's going to be interesting to see if his V6 can build enough speed without a yellow flag to catch up to these guys. And there's a yellow flag now, Larry. Tim Champlin crashed in number 3.
And it looks like a pretty solid hit. As you can see, significant damage to the front end of that car, and Tim was leaning back in the seat and kind of taking check of all of his faculties there, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know, he put on a pretty spectacular drive in the B main, so I'm sorry to see him out of the race.
The top 10, the man who started in the outside, or on the outside of the front row, Doug Heron, continues to lead. Gary Fedowa has moved up to second. Wayne Hammond is in third. The first two drivers have never won a USAC Sprint Car feature. Gene Lee Gibson is in fourth. Rich Vogler is now running in fifth position after a great battle with the sixth running Jeff Gordon. Eric Gordon, no relation, is seventh. Mark Alderson is eighth. Greg Staub is ninth. And David Harrison has moved up to 10th.
Well, Larry, we've just seen Jack Hewitt come into the pits and make some substantial chassis adjustments. I saw crew chief Phil Poore cranking on the weight screws, and he was also measuring the tire stagger. And I imagine they've put some more stagger in the car and also put more right rear weight in it to try to get that push out that's making Jack have to get out of the gas in the turn, and it's really hurting him. So we'll have to watch him close and see how those chassis adjustments help him.
So Jack Hewitt, who won at Kokomo, a USAC Sprint Car feature earlier this year, gives up 9th position, goes all the way back to about 19th position, and hoping that the changes they have made in the chassis will make this car go faster and allow Jack perhaps to get an even higher finish than what he was headed for. You're riding with Jack Hewitt, the cage cam, as he moves up to the tail of the field, and he really has his work cut out for him now.
Now, one thing we'll have to watch is his hands. If he still has to turn his hands more than about 1/8 of a turn to the inside, that means he's still got that push. But since they made so many adjustments, there's a chance they went too far and he'll be loose, and you'll know that because he'll have to turn his hands to the right to keep the car from spinning out. So we'll take a look at him inside the car and see how these adjustments work.
Preseason as we go back to the green flag, and going into turn number 1, a big spin. It's Wayne Hammond who triggered that. He was the first one to go around. I saw at least one other car go hard into the outside wall.
I think it's Vogler.
And at this point, it's just impossible to tell who everybody involved in. Wayne Hammond was the first car. And you think Vogler might have been involved?
Yes, Vogler's up there. Wayne Hammond and car number 8. That must be Larry Fritz.
That's Larry Fritz. And, okay, here's what it looks like in the replay, Steve. See what you can find out as we look at this.
Okay, it looks like Gene Lee ran into the back of Hammond and started him spinning. You can definitely see a jolt there, and he started spinning. And then here comes Larry Fritz. Now, we don't see what happens to Vogler. You know, Vogler seemed to be in a separate incident.
Vogler, I think, might have gotten involved in Wayne Hammond when Hammond went around. I saw Rich shooting through here. Now, let's watch for Vogler in the white number 69.
Here's Vogler up ahead.
There's Vogler in the center of the racetrack.
Yeah, Vogler hits the left front of Gene Lee, and that's what starts him.
Gene Lee is caught between Hammond and Vogler. Rich goes up and hits the outside wall, breaks off that right front wheel. He hit very hard. Then he goes and hits it a second time.
Okay, now, here's Hewitt.
This is a live shot we're looking at right now as Hewitt is back on the track and moving up behind Jerry Niemeyer there, moving to the tail. Now, this is a replay of what happened here in that restart.
Okay, there's Jerry Niemeyer getting sideways in front of him.
Down the front stretch.
Going high.
Hewitt goes to the high side.
That was bad for him because that's where all the action occurred, was out on the outside.
Now everybody jumps on the binders.
Yeah, you can see the tire smoke. Uh-oh.
Oh. Real time, Steve. He comes down the backstretch, getting ready for the green flag. Now, you know, he didn't really make a mistake. He had to make a decision to go high or low as Jerry got out of shape here, coming off the fourth turn. Then he goes into the first corner, and there's just nowhere to go.
No, and it looks like he's real fortunate because he looks like he hit the other car directly with his front bumper. So hopefully, when you do that, you don't damage the wheels or the suspension. So unless he bent the front torsion tubes and has bound up the torsion tubes, he should be in good shape.
Rundown after 11 laps of 30 in the main event tonight. Doug Heaven, the leader. Gary Fido was second. Gene Lee Gibson, who might have triggered that incident, is in third. Jeff Gordon survives to fourth.
Well, you know, at first it looked like Gene Lee Gibson just ran into the back of Hammond, but when we saw it that last time, you could see that Gary Fido did slow down. In fact, it looked like he almost ran into the back of Doug Heaven and had to slow down. And then Hammond tapped him, and then Gene Lee got into Hammond. So it was kind of a chain reaction thing. I don't think it was anybody's fault. It was just a, a racing incident.
Well, Bill Carey is looking over the field with 11 laps down. The green flag is out, and the feature is finally re-greened again.
Jack Hewitt really looks fast. He's moved up 3 positions already. So it doesn't look like that crash has hurt him any, and it'll be interesting to see how those adjustments work on his car.
That's Jim Keeker that Hewitt goes to the inside of as they move through turn 1 and 2. You can see how close they're running at better than 100 miles an hour. They straighten out and charge down the back straightaway. Now into turn number 3. Hewitt's going to try the high side of Keeker.
Good. Hewitt seems to have just a bit of that push left.
Hebron, who has spent his entire career on pavement, but in a low-slung, wide-bodied, super modified, is holding his own against a charging Gary Fido and Gene Lee Gibson. Actually, all 3 of these drivers are graduates of super modified racing. There is back in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position. No, that's first, second, and third again. It is Hebron, Fido, and Gene Lee Gibson.
Yeah, but here comes Jeff Gordon, and he's going to come up there and make it a 4-way battle, Larry.
Doug Heaven, and look at the big charge that Gibson makes, and he dives down inside of Gary Fido in turn number 3 and moves up 1 position. Boy, he charged in there quickly.
He sure did. Gibson looks strong. He's got that number 3 dive down.
Johnny Vance in this car, of course, were involved in a very serious-looking head-on crash.
Going again.
Going for the lead. Gibson slides into turn number 3, loses traction. But it looks like Gibson is going to hold on. Gene Lee Gibson takes over the number 1 position as Hebron drops back, and look at Gibson immediately put some distance, some daylight between himself and the 2nd and 3rd running car.
He sure is, Larry. Now Fido is going to have to hurry up and get by Hebron, or he's going to be out of the picture because Gene Lee is stretching it out.
Well, this guy right here, Jack Hewitt, is driving a snowplow.
Yeah, he's just got it cocked all the way. You can see the smoke coming off the right front tire. Look at that. That's a severe push. He has to, when it pushes like that, Gary, he has to let off the throttle and let the car turn. If he'd stay in the throttle, he'd just drive right into the fence. You can see it smoking. In fact, you can even see the ribs on the tire.
Jack is running in 9th position, make that 10th, 11th, maybe 12th now, as he is just getting no traction. As you pointed out, he's really punishing that right front tire, and he is fortunate he is even able to keep it on the racetrack.
Yeah, you know, Gary, on a pavement, when you start punishing a tire like that, it just gives up on you. So yeah, it's blistering. Every lap that he has to drive it that way, you can see the row of, we'll wait till he gets straight and the smoke comes off of it. But you can, well, we don't have the light here. On the front straightaway, we'll be able to get a better look at him. But every lap that he does that, it gets hotter and hotter, and it's just going to be kind of a snowball. It's going to get worse and worse. You can see on the outside rim, the black line is where the rubber is actually splitting and parting from the tire. It's blistering. Jack,
I think, is going to call it a night. I think he's decided that he has become more of a hazard out there than really trying to run competitively. And
3 laps to go, Larry. It looks like Gene Lee's got it pretty well in hand. He's got a pretty good lead, and Doug Heaven looks like he's in pretty good shape in 2nd. So we have to see if Jeff Gordon can get past Gary Fido for that 3rd place position.
Yeah, Jeff has been following Gary Fido for about the last 10 or 12 laps, and the cars look like they're chained together, almost perfectly matched.
Yeah, you know, Jeff looks like he gets in on him a little bit going into 3, but Gary looks real good coming off the turn.
Gene Lee Gibson is approaching slower traffic as he moves underneath Jerry Niemeyer. Jerry moves over and allows the leader to go underneath. Gene Lee Gibson getting by unscathed. He squirts out going down the backstretch. Fido moved in just a little bit.
There goes Jeff Gordon around the outside of Fido. The lap traffic is a factor. He's getting squeezed between Fido and the lap traffic.
So Gibson wins it. Coming home in 2nd is Gene Lee Gibson, and 3rd goes to, or make that Hebron, of course, is 2nd. 3rd going to Fido, and 4th to Jeff Gordon as Gene Lee Gibson survives another rugged one here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Now, We'll be back with a little more, perhaps some comments from our winner, Gene Lee Gibson.
Live in Victory Lane at Indianapolis Raceway Park. When you're hot, you're hot. Last night at Winchester, the Supermod. Congratulations for the sprint car tonight.
Thanks. It was a hard fought. I had to kind of hang it out a couple of times on that one restart going in here to one. They just stopped, and I hit Wayne, and I probably knocked him sideways, but yet Fita was bumpers cocked sideways too, so I think maybe it was just a chain reaction. You know, just one of them unfortunate things. You know, I come out on the good end of the stick. It's the month of August. It's time to get on track and get going.
It's been a good pay week for this guy right here from Ohio.